All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Scripting the Book. Today, we are going to be talking about Treasure Island and so many adaptations. So, right now, I've got my fabulous book club partners, co host buddies here with me, and I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves, and then we'll dive right in because there's quite a few to go over in an hour. So, Ben.
Hey everyone, I am Ben Pick. I'm a fantasy author. I got three books behind me, and every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I host productivity sprints on Running to Write on YouTube as Running to Write.
I'm Natalie Locke, author of a flash fiction writing prompt series, co-author, 1,000 Words to Get Started. We got 1,000 Words to Get Started, and then 1,000 Words to Ignite Romance for romance specific prompts. And I do monthly live streams with my co-author, Chandra Arthur, where we alternate between our channels, and we have a theme for writing a flash, and with like 10 words, and then there's a challenge. Like the challenge this morning was I had to have my screen covered while I typed. There was lots of errors.
And you're here on my channel. I'm Nita, the Vixen of Fiction. I stream here on YouTube, Scripting the Book once a month. Quarterly, I do Writers React. And then every Tuesday night, you can catch me at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We do a writing and productivity sprint. So if you want to just come hang out and chat and get some things done, you can do that over there. I also, for the next few weeks, some friends and I are getting together. We are taking Brandon Sanderson's online course where we aren't playing the video, but we are taking it like a study session, and then we are having a discussion after. So if you want to join us for those, it's every other Monday on my channel. So not this coming up Monday, but the following if you're watching live, or if you're watching this Easter Sunday. I don't suspect that we'll have a lot of viewers, but if you do want to watching on the replay, you can feel free to leave us a comment on your thoughts. What is your favorite or least favorite adaptation of Treasure Island? So I'm going to pull up my things because we're going to talk about the book first. And everybody read the book? Yes? Awesome. So how did we feel about the original book? It's 1880, I believe, 1880 or 1885, where it was written. So we all read it. Does anybody, was their first time reading it? First time? Yeah, I remember reading this a while back, probably like high school or maybe middle school, around somewhere in that time frame. Just once I started rereading it, I was like, yep, I definitely have reread it. So let's go through our dislike, neutral, like, and love. Anybody a dislike on the book? A neutral on the book? A like on the book? I put myself in the like category. And a love on the book. Ben, we loved it. All right, let's talk about it. What did we love about the book? Let's try not to spoiler the book. This is the only part where it's no spoilers, guys. No spoilers, but just give us an idea. We will talk spoilers later on. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, so we'll do some book spoilers as we're talking about each individual adaptation, and then we're going to go full on spoilers. But what did you love about Treasure Island?
Everything. I mean, it strikes to such a core of humanity, really. I mean, it's hard to go into this without saying spoilers, but I mean, just the images that this title evokes, the title alone, Treasure Island, like, you know what's coming, you know that it's going to be a fun story. It's a swashbuckling adventure. There's courageous characters, and it is written in a way such that there are countless, I mean, we can obviously count that, but there are countless reimaginings of this story. It's like the Count of Monte Cristo is just like a perfect novel in that every 10 years you could easily come out with a new one, or a Robin Hood or anything like that, where you can take this story into space and it still works.
Yes.
Or you can turn this into a Muppet movie, and again, it's still like everything about it is just so fundamentally human that it is wonderfully told. It's fun to read. It's an enjoyable experience. It's not too long, and I mean, I don't have anything else I could say in this section without spoiling anything. So it's just if you haven't read it, just go do it.
Yeah, we can do premise. Premise is there is a map to find where a treasure is buried, and it's told first person from a young kid. Jim, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's told from Jim's point of view. He's a young man who lives with his mom, and so the adventure begins. And so even it's written in 1880, but I think as I was reading it, it felt dated, but not in a bad way, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like
Like
it's
a good
still,
zeitgeist of the time. Like
Yes.
when you read Charles Dickens, you expect certain terminology and stuff. And Ben, I think you said it, and I have a new barometer: is how good a story is if the Muppets can make a movie on it.
Yep.
I'm pretty
Plain
sure.
simple.
Yep.
Which is funny because the Muppets are able to make movies off serious topics, but still make it G-rated. I was
Yeah.
like, how is this done? And then they like mock themselves a little bit about it.
Well, because
Yeah.
they like look back and forth, or sorry, there's a scene in the Muppet movie where they look back and forth. They're like, he can't really die, right? Like they look at each
Right.
other. And
Yeah.
although I was very surprised that did get a G rating. So
Yeah.
there are some moments
So-
in the movie.
But
So
for the
you
book itself,
liked it.
it was,
You liked
Oh yeah,
it.
absolutely.
it was
Yeah.
definitely like every character was fleshed out, and that's what really got me. Like I could easily see things, and what I liked about it being told from Jim's point of view is that we would catch on to things that he wouldn't.
Mhm. He's just telling it, right?
Yeah,
So
he's just telling it from like a
saying what
kid's
he's
point of
seeing.
view.
Exactly.
And that he doesn't have the experience or knowledge to catch on of that was wrong.
But to be
Yeah.
fair, there are also moments where there are red herrings in the story where you feel like maybe this person is being too righteous and good, so maybe they're the person who's not. So yes,
And
I
I
mean,
feel
as an
like-
adult, we can easily see like, sure, we know
Yeah.
exactly what's going to happen, but even there is enough mystery in there where there are still some questions to most readers
Yes.
or to the
Okay,
target
so-
audience.
So part of what's the basic premise is that you find them, you find or receive this map. You'll read how Jim comes about it. And so even when you're reading, even when you know you've read the story and you know you've seen at least 2 or 3 versions of the movie, there's still this like you don't trust anybody with this map. And it's all part of the I'm like, I know how this ends. I know how this ends. But as you're reading it through Jim's eyes, you're like, who's going to try and take it maybe? Who's going to maybe try to hoodwink somebody? There's all of these twists and turns that are happening. And this is the story that I believe introduces Long John Silver. And so a very this character that you are like bad guy, but the whole time you're always reading it bad guy, but. And so I think from Jim's point of view, this is done really, really well. So I think that the relationships, there's a captain, there's other crew members, and that Jim's building these relationships with and learning who to trust. And you're literally going on the adventure with them. And I think in that way, it's a really good book. It's one, maybe in another 20, 30 years, I might be able to pick it up again. I'm not like, I enjoyed it enough. I'm not going to be, it's not one that I'm like, every chance I get, I'm like, I'm just thinking about reading, I'd probably go watch a movie if I got a hankering for it. But, not a hard read. Not a read where you're like, oh, I got to pick this back up again, even though it's 150 years old. It doesn't feel like I don't really want to pick this up and read it. It doesn't feel like just source material. it's dated, but not in a bad way. So
And
I
yeah,
liked it.
good news about that every 10 to 20 years thing. It seems like every 10 to 20 years they come out with a new version of this movie, because we were talking pre-show about which movie we all saw, and we were trying to like align with the movies, but we kept apparently all of us have watched the wrong one, or I definitely watched the wrong one, because we can get into that.
But so let's go ahead, and we're gonna so how do we feel? Would we recommend this, the book, Treasure Island, the book?
Absolutely.
Anything else we want to say about the book?
Like, I actually kind of wish it became one of those required readings that you get in school, because as a kid, honestly, I'm tired about The Giver. I'm tired. Like, it's still a required reading, and my kids are in school, and I'm like, man, I read this when I was in school. Like, it was, I just feel like we gotta change it up a little bit, and this is one of those.
It's too violent for schools, though, and yes, the violence is minimal, but
yeah, I guess.
True. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
I mean, The Giver. Hold on, we're talking infanticide in The Giver,
and there's death in all of the Shakespeare ones. So I'm starting to think, why aren't we reading?
Yeah, like Treasure Island is actually not that bad
in comparison to some of the other.
And it's not like the Canterbury Tales where the writing is so tied to the time that it's almost difficult to read. Shakespeare is difficult to read because it's tied to the time. At least
and the
Treasure Island, like, it's actually pretty easy.
That part, because all of them, even though the ones that you mentioned, the stories themselves are enjoyable, but reading it can be the tedious part, and almost make it less fun, because you then got to almost, as a kid, you're trying to translate what the heck they're saying, so that you can, like, oh yeah, that's a good line, or oh, that's funny. You're like, wait, what did they say first? Figure out what they said, and then you're like, oh, that was a nice little quip there, because it is those are very dated. Even the Shakespeare jokes, we get it now because we learned them, and then we've seen all the plays. But there's a lot of times that things will just go right over your head, and your teacher's like, did you catch that? And we're like, catch what?
Of course not.
I don't even know what he said. What do you mean? And I love English.
Why do you just say it that way?
I do love Shakespeare, but this was not that. It was very much of the time, but a much easier read. So I think that this one could be minus the violence. This could probably be middle school required reading for middle school.
Easily,
a little bit of violence.
I did Shakespeare in high school.
Yeah.
And to me, the only difference between this and Shakespeare when we're regarding to violence and stuff is that this is easier to read. I will say I did switch when it came to audiobook. I had two options. I started listening to this one guy, and his voice was just so gravelly and stuff. It kind of made me think of the modern male narrators for specific genres. And I couldn't unhear that. So I went to the other guy who actually.
Interesting. Do you have it where you can pull up to see which one? Because I also switched, and I wonder if we switched the opposite way, or if we switched to the same one.
So I'm gonna pull up because I checked it out through my library, and then I was like, I didn't like the guy's voice. So hold on. All right. So the first one was narrated by. Let's see here. Sam Cousy, and he had a very gravelly voice, and I didn't like it.
I'm trying to about the book. Let me see if it'll tell me.
And then the one I ended up going with was Gildart Jackson.
Okay, so the narrator, I switched. I don't remember who I switched from, but I switched to Nigel Thomas.
Oh, I didn't even have a Nigel Thomas option.
Let me see if I can find the first one that I switched from really quick.
But for me, just because I have a full-time job and I'm like in the car for up to an hour each day, like that is like perfect listening audiobook time for me. And then also that sometimes while I'm at work, I'm doing such a monotonous task, like dealing with numbers, that listening to an audiobook is not a problem. And so that's how I'm able to consume, like, I'm almost to like 52 books for this year.
I know, because you can do, I like literally I'll start doing them when I'm gardening. I listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I also, right before I go to bed when my eyes are too tired to read the pages.
Mhm.
The one I switched from, I believe, was Neil Hunt.
Oh, okay. So we got
There,
different
yeah.
ones.
So Neil Hunt, I almost stuck with him. There's another one, and I was like, immediately no. The app that I used gave me several options. I pay for a subscription because I do audiobooks so much and I don't want to use just Audible all the time. So they gave me one option. I was like, absolutely not. Like I heard like 3 words and I was like, not it. And then this one, I listened to it for a minute and I was like, I think I can. But then I was like, let me just hear the other one because I had a third option. And the third option was the one that I went with. I was like, oh, even better. So yeah. But I almost went with Neil Hunt. Neil Hunt was my second choice, but then I got lucky. I got
So
one more.
there's many renditions. Like this, I mean, what, 150 years? Like, it's been out. Like, if you're doing audiobook, you're gonna have multiple choices. My biggest push for myself was I was making sure I wasn't getting an abridged version because
Yeah.
if I'm doing an audiobook, I have the time. I try to avoid abridged because I feel like I might be missing something.
Yeah. There are several. I'm looking now and there are so many. And the one I listen to also has the original and has an unabridged. Okay. So I think it has an abridged and an unabridged. I did the unabridged.
Yeah. I think 8th grade is definitely an appropriate age for this book. But I will say you have to go into it with the right mindset. A lot of kids, when they see historical, they're like, I don't want to read that and stuff like that. But it is adventure. It is like, I was surprised how fast paced it was. Of always something happening and stuff. And it was pretty good.
Oh, that's good. Yes, I would totally agree. I liked it. Would read it again in another 20 years. Definitely will enjoy every adaptation as they come out when I see them. So speaking of adaptations, I did go back and watch the original. So I will give, because I'm the only one who watched. So Natalie, you were telling us before why you were like a no for the 1950 movie.
I saw on Disney Plus, I did the search and I saw Treasure Planet, Muppet Treasure Island, and then I saw the 1950s movie. And it's just, when it comes to those older movies, the acting style is really difficult for me to overcome. It's maybe I've been conditioned too much or something, but if you know the type of speech that they give, especially, wasn't this British? Like a British cast?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the 1950s British is very like almost, it was a push of posh, where we had in the 1950s a lot of that Midwestern talk, really fast and like this, and almost judgy for the women and stuff like that. I can barely do the thing. And so whereas on the British side, the 1950s is very posh, and the women are usually breathy and stuff like that. And it's difficult for me to look past that and get sucked into a story that's supposed to be reminiscent of a specific time that is not the 1950s, when the 1950s have so much influence on it.
Yeah, and it was very much that. I think in its time, it was probably really fantastic, and I knew to watch it first because I was like, if I'm gonna watch it, I just want to watch it and get it out of the way, because I get that too. It's the which I know that was probably really great acting back then, but where they're just like it's like speechy, and not interrupted. If that, you know how it like doesn't feel like real conversation, if that makes sense. And then I do remember in the beginning, all of that dialogue that you get from Jim. You don't get any of that. So you just see stuff happening. And I could imagine like if I hadn't known the story, like just what is happening. It's a guy shows up dun-dun-dun, with that music, you know, and do just music and things happening. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, there's a map. And then someone's like, you know what I mean? It's like not really telling you what's happening, because I think that they have had picture film for a while at this point, but a lot of it was still, I think, new-esque to them. So there was a lot of, they just want you to hear the music. Like it just felt.
Well, and we don't know how school was in Britain, and so it could have been very ingrained. Like maybe it was a mandatory reading, so they expected everyone watching this movie already had the story in mind.
Yeah. But it was that there were parts that I was very interested in seeing. One of the parts was I wanted to see how they did Long John Silver because he's got the one leg. And as I'm watching, there were parts that I was like, the acting is probably really good. You know what I mean? It was so hard to get into. I think if you like old films, then you would probably really enjoy it. They feel really dated for me. So I was trying to just enjoy it for what it is. And I was able to get through the whole thing. So there is that. As someone who doesn't necessarily always like old movies, there are things that I can get through. The OG Star Trek. What are the, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on what they're called, but they were the series where it's like I would put it in
Monty Python.
Those Monty Python type things.
Yeah, and, like that I can deal with.
Yeah.
Like me, it's any of those.
Twilight Zone, those type of things. I can.
Yeah.
I
like
get in the mood for one.
Hepburn films like Sabrina, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like these are things that I expect. That type of acting.
Yeah. Exactly. So I feel like if you're in the mood to just watch something old and just have that like nostalgic kind of feel, this is probably a good one for that too. But if you're just looking for a good movie, this probably isn't going to be like your first pick. But there are people who really love these old films. So
yeah,
I
it
think
took me a while to be okay to watch Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and then some of the other lesser known would be like the Biggest Dotson, or the it's about a guy who ends up like his wife raises Dotsons, but he wants a Great Dane, so he like smuggles a Great Dane puppy into a litter and stuff. But it's around that time of the 50s and 60s and stuff. And got Disney. I don't even know if Disney produced the 1950s.
Yeah, I don't know if they produced it or they just own it now.
Yeah,
that I don't know. But yeah, there's some that I actually enjoy. The things like The Sound of Music and stuff like that. This one, probably because it doesn't have the added music, I don't know. It's probably not that, but it honestly wasn't that bad. For
how true was it to the book?
It felt fairly close to the book. Like I actually watched the OG before I did any of the mediums. I just wanted to get it out of the way because I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. I'm glad I was able to get through the whole thing, and there were parts that I really found interesting. Especially there's one part where Long John Silver is having a discussion with the captain, and he's literally laying on the ground, and he's like, are you gonna give me a hand and help me up? And they're like, no, and he's like, fine. And so you watch him struggling to get back. I'm like, good job. Like, and so it was honestly, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. So if you like old movies, I think it's one that you could add to the list. If you don't like old movies, it might be a little bit of a struggle, though. I will say that. Then Ben watched an older movie. You want to talk about the older one that you watched before we get into the ones that
I watched I watched the 1982 version, which I thought was like a 70s version. So I thought it was older than it was because of the way that it was filmed. It was good. It was more or less a one-to-one mapping of the book itself. So the acting was what you would expect for the 80s. but it was still entertaining. So
Yeah. I feel like that probably lends to the story itself, I would say, because I felt the same way. I was able to get through the whole thing, even though it was really old, like 1950, super old. I think that, they even superimposed the color, everything. I don't know if it was the real color. That's how old it was. And I was able to get through it. And I think that's because of the story. You're literally going on the adventure. So you're able to kind of like put aside some of this is very dated acting. This is very dated look, and I'm sure he's got his leg folded up, to do the thing, and he's always wearing the long coat for that reason. So yeah. So I think that's the story that makes it so that even though it's 1980, 80 something, it's still enjoyable.
1982, yeah.
1982. Nat, did you watch any older versions, or did
I was going to? I needed to find it, but and I just want to watch it because Jim Hawkins is played by a young Christian Bale.
Yeah,
and it is. I think it came out in like 90 or in the 90s, early 90s. But I just didn't get around to it. I think what held me up is that I was trying to look for a free version, and and either I gave up looking because the first place I found it cost money. I was like, no, I refuse $4.
It's always a turn off. I'm like, I'm not paying.
I know. I mean, with all the subscription services, I'm practically back up to what my cable bill was before I dropped it.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it was that one I wanted to watch, and I want to say I did watch it when I was younger. But I just, yeah, I don't really remember it and such. But with Christian Bale, it's I'm pretty sure that's when he had his using his actual accent of British, which honestly, he's done so many American films that it just sounds fake, even though it's his actual voice.
I think people actually thought his British voice was the fake voice, and it's like, no, that's the real voice.
It's right up there with like Hugh Laurie.
Weird.
Yeah. Like Hugh Laurie's British voice, you're like, no, that's no, and it's like, no, he grew up there.
No, that's the real voice.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I didn't have a chance to watch it. But I'm assuming if it is British line, they don't change it a lot. From the pictures, it looked like it was it wasn't a retelling or anything. It was going to be by the book, because the last one the British did was apparently 1950.
Oh, okay. So that was the 1951. All right. So let's go into next up.
Well, sorry. So what were our overall ratings?
I would give it a neutral for the 1951 that I saw. I think if you're just curious, go ahead and give it a look to but I feel like if you really just want the story and you're not into old movies, you're going to be better off with probably a newer version. Cuz
I will say it's like pick your version with this, at least. Like, you're going to find something
you like. Yeah, there's so many. But I would say if you're into older films, you'll like it. You'll like it, because all of the things that people who aren't into older films find irritating a little bit aren't going to bother you if you like older films. And the older films that I do enjoy are things like the Sound of Music and stuff like that. I do enjoy them, but I also don't watch them all the time. You know what I mean? I like them when I'm in the mood. So this could potentially be one that when I'm in the mood for something old, I might watch it. But I'd watch if I'd watch something else old and then watch a moderner version of this. It's the story that's good. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I fall. How about you, Ben, on the version that you watched?
Yeah, I still love it. I mean, there's a huge asterisk there in that, I didn't find any fault in the acting or anything along those lines. It is definitely dated, and I didn't watch the 1950s version, so what I saw was perfectly fine. But yeah, you're right. There are definitely better versions of Treasure Island that are out there. So I still say love it.
Nice. All right, and I'm gonna give mine a neutral like, but I didn't.
Yep.
There's nothing I disliked about it, except for that it was old.
I mean, pretty much as long as they stated the story, they're gonna get at least a neutral from us.
Yeah, yeah.
Just if you completely butcher it, then yeah, you deserve whatever rating.
If you're gonna change it up, you better make it good. I'm just saying.
Oh, we'll get there.
All right, here we go. So we're gonna do. So we did the 1950s and all of the other older versions. Let's move up to Muppet Treasure Island, 1996. Let's find out where we fall on this. Anybody a dislike on the Muppets? A neutral, a like, a love. I'm so high of a like that I might as well say I love it because I would watch it again. There again, it starts getting, the only issue I have is it starts getting a little old with this one. Like some of the references might feel a little dated, but they do it. Muppets have a way of doing it in a funny way, because even when they're like, I think they prefer to be called disabled persons or something like that. Because I'm like, oh, what year was, I literally went, what year was this? 1996. Because that was when we were all trying to figure it out. Like, you know, we don't want to call people this. What do people prefer to be called? So I'm like, I remember this time. Yes, I remember this time. So it felt dated in that sense, but literally the Muppets were calling themselves out, almost like if we're not saying it right, we're not trying to not say it right, you know, kind of thing. So I thought that they did a really good job. Muppets are always so much fun. So why did everybody else love this? Because I could gush about it.
Fantastic acting, fantastic story.
Yeah, I actually
purely entertaining. It's something I can watch. You know, I don't
Yeah.
need to wait 10 years to watch this again. I can watch this a year from now and still enjoy it.
I was surprised how many times I laughed out loud.
Yes.
I was like, why do I find this so funny?
Yeah.
And even my husband's looking at me going, it's not that funny. I was like, it is though.
What I love is that there's certain Muppets that always play themselves in the characters, and they have some of the best zingers. And then Kermit is always so serious in his role. I'm like, Kermit is the consummate actor. I'm like, I love Kermit.
Yeah, like Kermit is
great.
like the human actor, what we expect the human actor to be, but but in this case, our human actor becomes a Muppet practically.
Yes.
Which trivia, by the way, Tim Curry at the conclusion of filming or production or whatever, he was given a Muppet version of his character Long John Silver.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love that they act with actors, and there's they, with the exception of the couple of characters that are meant to break the wall and look at us, and you know, the other characters literally are the actors, and they're acting with actual human actors. Muppets always do. They balance this so well. They always they've got that down. I love it. I feel like I don't know that I've ever been disappointed by a Muppet movie when they've done these renditions of some other, like when they've done an adaptation. I can't recall one. If we ever get to an adaptation where I'm disappointed, I will let you guys know. But all the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, the Muppets have done an excellent job, and it's so fun, and like the whole family can watch it and enjoy it. Even the little things that get dated, it's almost, I don't know, it's like how they knew it would be dated and they call themselves out for it, and so therefore it doesn't feel dated. They just do it so well. They just do it all so well. So I feel like you can literally keep coming back to it. Like Ben said, it's a once a year. It wouldn't even think twice, wouldn't even be like, oh, I just saw this not that long ago. No, if it was on, I'd be like, Muppet Treasure Island's on, you know. Anybody else thoughts on Muppet Treasure Island?
I got more trivia.
Okay, let's go.
just because I always find it interesting. So this was directed by Brian Henson, who is Jim Henson's son, and it was the first movie done without Jim Henson. And they were actually thinking, instead of Treasure Island, they were going to do a King Arthur, which, by the way, I wish they would still do.
Like, do that too.
But after they were going to do King Arthur, and from what else I'm gathering is that Gonzo and Rizzo were actually going to be the leads. They were thinking at first, and they changed that. Tim Curry copied his grandfather's voice to play Long John Silver. That was his inspiration.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I loved, my husband was in the other room and didn't know I was watching this movie. And the first time Tim Curry laughed, Alex was like, "Is that Tim Curry?" Like, his laugh is just so unique.
Mm-hmm.
And it is perfect. Easily called. The film's main songwriter also co-wrote The Righteous Brothers' "You've Lost That Love and Feeling."
That's also cool.
During so the interior boat scenes, they actually were like on a gimbly ridge, so they made it look like it was moving. And the directors and everybody got worried that the cast was going to get motion sickness.
That's what I was thinking.
So they gave everyone anti-nausea pills, but unfortunately, a side effect of those pills is drowsiness. So the entire cast could barely stay awake, including Tim Curry, because everyone taking the anti-nausea pills.
That's fine. We can do a couple more. We'll come back if we have time. Though.
Yeah,
We'll do.
There's
more
the last one I got is that the creators of Spam sued the filmmakers. Because Miss Piggy plays Benjamin Gunn.
Oh.
And whose followers among the fellow residents of Treasure Island is a wild boar high priest whose followers call him Spam. And
yeah.
So Hormel Foods Corporation claimed that Muppet Treasure Island had infringed on their trademark.
I mean,
interesting.
They got kind of a case there.
Yeah.
They just wanted some of that Muppet money.
Yeah.
So either way. Okay, that's the trivia.
All right. So how do we all feel? Recommend?
100%.
Fun watch.
Yeah, like if your child is too young or like you're not into reading and stuff, like just watch the movie. Like it's pretty darn close. It's like I feel like this story is so good that as much as we are like advocates for reading because you get more scenes and you get more inside the main character's head, I still think it's good to convey the story no matter what medium it is. And this is one of those stories that still needs to be conveyed.
Nice.
Especially because of the character development, the character arc. Like I the whiplash I get
relationship.
I like Long John or not.
Yes. I have the same like Long John, I need you to do good. Come on, be the good guy, you know? And then Long John does what Long John does. It's like, but he's got reasons. We're gonna go next to the Treasure Planet 2002. See how we felt about this adaptation, and we'll talk about how it's the same and how it's different. So
not quite 10 years, but
yeah. Anybody a dislike? Neutral, a like, and a love. Low end, but I love this one. It doesn't hit Muppet level, but yeah,
they do pretty well. Like their creativeness and the fact that it's
really quick.
You're taking a risk by adapting it to a new time.
Really quick, did we do dislike, neutral, like, and love on the Muppets?
Yeah, everybody said
we all loved
it. We all loved it. That's why. Okay, I'm like, yeah, we all loved it. That's so yeah. This one's a love, not as much. as the Muppets, but I really enjoyed this. So why did we love it? You had already started, Nat. Keep going.
All right. Yeah, with Treasure Planet, this helped bring the sci-fi element in, and the fact that they would create this 1880 story and make it sci-fi, I thought was very, very risky. Like, bet there was people who were against it, but it was so well done. And it helped because there is people who don't like the historical stuff. They only like sci-fi. Well, here we can make it by being able to create sci-fi versions of these great historical stories is, I think, fabulous. So I thought the reason I like it a lot is because the characters, they didn't deviate too much. And but yet they were able to create something new. Like, for example, Ben Gunn being an android and having missing memory and stuff like that, like having these elements and stuff, which the fact that they gave him missing memory, which is why he seems off instead of being isolated for 3 years, you know, and stuff like that. Like, I thought that was a good explanation for children of like, oh, well, his part of his memory's gone. That's why he's a little woo. And then and stuff. But this is kind of like the serious talks, and but they still had the character development that was good. Also, trivia. The story that is the song that is playing while Jim Hawking is bonding with Long John Silver and actually learning to fly stuff and everything. Yeah. And you're getting this father-son vibe about him. That song was actually created by the lead singer of the Goo Goo Dolls, written for the movie. And it was written because his father actually, I think, either left or had passed away early in the lead singer's life. And the whole story of I'm still here and everything, like kind of this like triumph of like, yeah, I've had these hardships and stuff, but I'm still here. And I just thought that was like a beautiful story. And it shows how people can relate to Treasure Island, Treasure Planet, wherever, in different ways of relating to Jim, who is having to kind of grow up quickly and make his own judgments about the world.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact about that song.
Great music.
Joe Resnick may have written it in one day.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, what? So I watched the commentary about this, and they were talking about how he basically showed up, and like the day of, he was still just writing down the lyrics to it, and then just performed it, and it was, you know, that version of it. So they were really nervous about it at first, but it's a perfect song. So whether the inspiration was there and he just needed to come up with some lyrics for it, or whether he knew what he was doing, not necessarily 100% certain, but he might have written that in one day.
Wow, that's impressive. And I just want to say, this music resume right here, fantastic. I'm like, hit. Great job. Good on them. And thanks for that, Zara with Inimitable Books. Yeah, so this one, so enjoyable. I love the sci-fi aspect of it. I'm like, chef's kiss. You guys know I love some sci-fi. And it's animated and it's fantastic. I did not even mind the added romance. It's because it's so Disney also, right? To do that. Yeah, it was wonderfully done. I remember watching this with my younger siblings, and then again with my kids. My kids all know it. This is great. I enjoyed rewatching it. Like, I was glued rewatching this one. So not quite. I don't have the. I as much as I really love it, it's not the same level of love that I have for the Muppet one, but it's up there. It's so good. So good. So yeah, Why am I losing? Oh, because I'm switched over. So that is Treasure Planet 2002. It doesn't feel dated. I don't think that it can feel dated because I feel like, here's the thing, because I've also watched Star Trek and some other things, the way that Star Trek adds in really, really old things to their very futuristic styling, that it almost like we don't know what the future is going to be. So maybe the style of dress, the style of dress for the regular people is very much the same as the style of dress for Belle and for the Little Mermaid when Ariel goes on land. It's that the mom, and when they're on land and not out in space, they're still wearing that style of clothes. I don't know what they're going to be wearing in so-and-so in the future. So it doesn't, anything that might feel dated doesn't bother me because I don't know what the future is going to be like. So I just roll with it. It's easy to roll with.
I agree, but at the same time, this is like a quintessential 90s movie. Even I know it was done in the 2000s, but
yes.
like you said, the music was done by the Goo Goo Dolls. You have the main character who is obsessed with essentially skateboarding. It is, it's skyboarding or whatever, but it's a hoverboard thing. And there's like the first 5 minutes is him just trespassing, trying to like do all these really cool tricks in the air, which could not exist. Like it was the start of the Goof Troop Goofy movie. There was just so much of it that feels like 90s. So yes, I understand that's the future.
That is quintessential 90s. Is this child that's a little on the fringe of society, breaking the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say I was a teenager in the 90s, so everything 90s I still love. I think nothing in the 90s is dated. It's like perfect. The 90s was great.
Agree.
So I still listen to 90s music. That's just my era. I don't know. I love it
too. But yeah, it is so fascinating how this movie, this book that came out in the 1800s, can so well translate 150 years later into something completely off-world.
Yep.
So that's going back to what I was saying about how this is just such a fundamental human story. And of course, you have the one scene where somebody gets shot, and then the guy goes, "Oh, is there a doctor here who can help him?" He's like, "I'm a doctor, but I'm not that kind of a doctor."
What kind of doctor?
Which, I mean, that was, I mean, you want to talk 90s. Frasier's brother, I forget the actor's name, played the doc.
I think he was Nigel on Frasier, but I can't think of his name. Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah. It was great. The acting was great. The voice acting, I should say, was great.
The Ben Gunn was Martin Short.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And this one, I feel like this is probably the most sympathetic Long John Silver to me.
Yeah,
like, he was the father figure that Jim Hawkins didn't like. They drive that home so hard. That he's the father, because he teaches Jim's always wanted to see the stars, and there's a moment where Long John Silver is with him in a boat and he's teaching him how to essentially sail.
Yep. So good.
Zara has some interesting facts that this was originally pitched in 1985, but was rejected because there was going to be a Treasure Island inspired Star Trek sequel, which never happened. And it kept getting rejected until Musker and Clements went right to Roy Disney, who said yes.
Like, can we just do this, please? Oh, that's great.
I love stories of when someone sees the greatness of a project and they don't give up on it. And despite being told, no. And then it turns out to be great. And they get this beautiful, I told you so, to everyone that's a no to them.
Yes and no, because this didn't sell well. That's the problem. Like, it's such a fantastic movie, but it was at the tail end of Disney's animated thing. They did a terrible job marketing it. And so I don't think this one made them all the money that it should have.
It didn't. I feel like it's become more of a cult classic and everything. I would say between all the Treasure Islands, Muppet Treasure Island probably is stronger cult classic than Treasure Planet, but I feel like they're just so close. Like,
and what's
ship
worse is
in
that this
space.
was
That's amazing. I love it.
What's worse is that
Like-
this was so good. This was like Disney's golden era, like the last movie of Disney's golden era. So it shows that Disney knows how to make compelling characters, compelling side characters who have their own characteristics, and like they're doing their own thing while intersecting and bouncing off of the story in interesting ways. And it just is so upsetting that I haven't seen a movie like this in 23 years from Disney.
Oh, yeah. It felt it's literally a retelling. It felt innovative in a way. Like, how did you do this? But like, you really took this story and like they took it to a different level, literally taking it into space. It was great. It was just great. So everybody, how do we feel? Would we recommend this one?
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. So we can start getting into some of the other. I have to keep switching back. Let's do some thoughts on other Treasure Island adaptations. I think when I was looking at the old ones, fortunately, bam, 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 they were the ones I knew I was going to hit were right on Disney. And I thought if I have time, I'll maybe try to catch some other ones. But I think just 2 years after they did this, they did Long John Silver, which I did not go back and rewatch. I think I vaguely may have seen it at a grandparent's house years and years and years ago. But I don't really remember it. So nothing that I can speak on it. Just when I see the actor, I'm like, that looks familiar. But of course, it's Treasure Island. Who knows if that's the one I saw? Like, Ben watched the 1982 version. So I'm like, maybe, I don't know. There's so many versions of this. So that I almost watched. I did when the series Black Sails came out. I watched that. I'm like, I loved all the pirates, like Justice for all the pirates.
Sorry, so
the
Black Sails was on Showtime. It was essentially the prequel to Treasure Island because it's the vilification of Long John Silver.
Yes, it's how he went from the very
and all of the other ones.
guy.
Who's the
Cheech?
whose gold is it that Barry is there? Flint.
It's Flint.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's Captain Flint's story mostly.
Yep. Billy Bones, all of them there. And it's like, I remember watching Black Sails and just being like, are we going to get everybody? And it's just so, Coleco Jack, it is so cool just seeing everybody playing these characters before they became the really, really bad guys, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, it's why we like to watch Maleficent, like see why did this person become the essence of evil and everything.
Yeah.
Even though Long John has an arc, but I would say in the book and in the Muppets, it's more of like self-serving.
Yeah.
Like just doing what he can do to save his own neck. Whereas in Treasure Planet, it's a little self-serving, but also like he was selfless at least for a little bit.
He sees
it's like more you could tell he cared. Where it's always in the book, it's always questionable, you know, but I feel like with Treasure Planet, he really wants what he wants, but he's got a super soft spot for Jim. And it shows. He can't, he tries to hide it, but he can't hide it. So I feel like Black Sails was a lot of fun to watch. We are talking about everyone can watch all of these other ones. No, do not. This is not Black Sails not child friendly. Yes. Not even a little bit.
There's
even if you're an adult, warnings even for adults. But I loved it.
Yeah. It was entertaining. It was endgame level of piracy there. So like every single pirate name you've ever heard of will make an appearance on the show.
Yes. And you're sometimes wondering, is someone still going to show up? And then they do. You're like, yes. I'm like,
I'm
are they going to
noticing
get
a theme between last month and this month, but Zara brought up the quote of, "Are people born wicked, or is wickedness thrust upon them?" We evaluated this last month with the book Wicked, like in the musical, and we're there again. Whereas I will say Jim was consistent. It was more of who he was choosing to align with. And his turmoil. Though I do like, one of my favorite things is when he stood up and was like, fine, if take care of me, or I'm gonna tell everybody about this and everything I know and stuff like that. Like, I just, like, when he had a backbone, I was like, yes, Jim, do it.
Well, that's why this thing is fun. This thing is also a coming of age story too, because it's Jim going from a boy to a man.
Very much so. Very much so.
Though as a parent watching this, I'm like, his mom's freaking out, like, however long he's gone.
Well, that's why they burned down the inn at the start. You gotta do the Disney solution of either, you know, killing off the parent or just destroying their home, or both. Or
she destroyed the home, and then she's like in secret somewhere for the entire duration that he's gone.
Yeah. Now, did anybody see the I think it's called Titans AE?
Yes, one of my favorites.
Okay.
Matt Damon, Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
There's the others. Okay, so the reason this was on no list saying that it was inspired by Treasure Island. It does not claim to be inspired by. However, we are talking the same things. We have a child whose father abandoned him. We never see about the mother, but at a very young age. And he is being thrust into space and is kind of rule breaking a little bit, like gets in trouble with the law, ends up coming across a guy who recruits him to go find
a map.
Treasure Planet, which is actually the future of every species that was on Earth, which, by the way, was destroyed. So it's how to create a new planet, the After Earth, which is what AE stands for. So this mentor brings them in. You get the scientist that seems a little off kilter. You get the strong arm character alien that, like, is no BS. You get the father figure from the mentor as well. And then you have the switch of realizing who you thought was evil was actually being fed information from the mentor the whole time. And the mentor was a double crosser and everything, but not everyone in the crew is, and trying to gain back that. And then you have a coming of age, who to trust, and a final treasure.
I will say that movie feels like a fever dream because it is fast. If you actually think about what goes on in the timeline, it doesn't make sense, because there is a scene where they need to catch up to somebody, so they basically just refurbish a spaceship and, like, do all these repairs in it. And the movie makes it seem like it's, you know, an hour's time, maybe a day at most, and then they catch up to somebody. But it would take like weeks, if not months, to do that much amount of work to it.
Yeah, especially because they're in a
rundown colony,
they gotta create these items or get them from another location. And I know we've advanced as a society by this point and are coexisting with aliens. However, we can't defy the laws of physics. Okay, even if it was light years, we're talking. I need a specific panel. I need rivets. I need a capacitor of something or other. Like. Yeah. And then also everyone just happens to know how to take care of a ship.
Yeah.
I mean, I can kind of know that, where it takes time for the other people to get to the ultimate destination. And so they might have then a ship can start off later than them, but if it has better acceleration and it's not going at the speed of light, then it can catch up to them or whatever. But that would mean that everything else in the universe would be traveling.
I will say
it gets very timey-wimey at that point.
Yeah, the ice area, they did have to drive very carefully through. And so that was very slowed down and almost like a Hall of Mirrors vibe.
Yeah.
But I still make the argument that it just proves how before its time Treasure Island was, for the fact that it almost, the theme of the mentor double cross and the these are themes that have been used in Star Wars. These are themes that just it is well established setups here and a common better goal, and having a character that is trying to choose good or evil.
Yeah.
And what is it?
I'll say this is the only one that I didn't get to rewatch that I wanted to rewatch and was bummed that I didn't get to. So, and it's one that I probably still will rewatch it because I haven't seen it in forever. But if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's got so many great voice actors in it. Matt Damon, it's got Drew Barrymore, it's got Janine Garofalo, I believe. Totally another one I would say definitely worth it. When I get a chance, I probably am going to be rewatching it at some point, and probably over the summer. Because now I'm like, man, I didn't get to watch it. And I'm listening to you guys talk about it, like, yeah. But it has been a minute. But I remember I just loved the animation in it too. So great job.
I like the music. There's a song Cosmic Castaway that was pretty good. An entire, hey, you can take the stick and fly the ship. I mean, come on, we got a montage, okay?
Yeah.
Multiple montages. And but it's that song. Then there's this one where he's recovering and coming back to himself, and it's I forget who sings it, but I remember just this like this voice saying, "Come back down to earth." Oh yeah. And it was just this like cool vibe to it and stuff, and I like the music. Also I like Matt Damon's voice.
Yeah,
I thought it was perfect, and especially because they got that snarkiness and like sarcasm and stuff with all the characters, and then you got the character that doesn't grasp it, like the scientist going, yeah, that's odd, and then they just go back to what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we do have to get ready to wrap this up. We're going to do something a little bit different. We usually do best and worst changes, but because there's so many adaptations and we've all seen various ones, best and worst. Anybody have a worst adaptation on their list?
It's just personal preference. I don't like the older ones. Yeah,
I don't prefer the older ones either, but I would not say that there are a worst necessarily. Right. But so what is our favorite? I'm thinking my favorite is still probably the Muppets. As much as I really enjoyed the other two, Treasure Planet and Titan AE, and I really, really want to see Titan AE again. I think that the Muppets are going to eke this one out for me and be my favorite adaptation.
Well, I'm nostalgia based, and I was the target audience when this movie came out. So Treasure Planet, for me, followed very closely by Muppets, and then Titan AE.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't make me choose.
Like, why?
I like all of them have special place in my heart. It'd be like choosing Romeo and Juliet. Am I choosing like the play? Am I choosing Claire Danes and I forgot his name.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like, I mean, it's whatever mood I'm in the moment, I guess, is which one will be my favorite to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna take it our final thoughts and any spoilers you guys want to throw in on final thoughts for this one, and we'll talk about what we have coming up next. My final thoughts is, I feel like back in December we did a ranking. Did we do it in December or January? We did a ranking.
December.
I feel like this one might nudge some of our top rowers, scooch them over a little bit, because all around, I think it's, for me, I'm like, good book, even though it's old, good read. Old movie, maybe wouldn't do that unless I was in the mood to watch an old film. But any of the adaptations, I feel like, especially any of the more recent adaptations, I could watch with no problem. Starting in what was it with the Muppets, 1996, still feels great. With the Muppet one, so I feel like this is one where it's hard to go wrong. Pick.
Unless you completely deviate from the book. Like, we have established themes, established character arcs. Like, just stick to the plan, man.
Yeah, this one doesn't need any fudging around. You can just put the
you can put it another time, like they did with
exactly.
But
drop it in whatever world you want to drop it in. The story with the young man, a little bit wayward, gets kind of taken under his wing. It meets up with people who kind of look out for him, but also kind of straighten him up a little bit at the same time with the captain. And then a squirmy kind of guy who kind of like semi takes him under his wing, but has his own agenda. That story works. It just works. And the adventures. You're going on this adventure. There's danger. And there are consequences with this danger, death can happen.
Are high.
Yeah, the stakes are high. So yeah. Ben, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the phrase I think I'm looking for is 4-quadrant movie, because it is for all ages, all cultures, all genders, like anybody worldwide. I feel like this is just a universal story of fun adventure. So read it, watch any or all of the versions that you want, compare and contrast them, pick a favorite. Don't do it all at once, because you get very repetitive if you do them back to back to back. But it is interesting to see how everybody does their own slight twist on the tried and true formula, and how everything is both the exact same and yet feels a little bit different. So
yes, yep.
Consume this however you want.
Yep. My only caviat is, if you decide to do Black Sails, it is for adults.
Yes, Black Sails is not Treasure Planet. Treasure Island is not Treasure Planet. It leads into
watch the prequel for Long John Silver. No, don't do that.
Hell, I was surprised. I went putt golf with my kids and everything, and it was at this place that had a pirate theme, and they had little placards of facts and stuff about Blackbeard. And because my kid's homeschooled, I use that as a time of like, hey, let's read together. And eventually he got tired of reading. I can still see you. Thank you. I know you need my phone. He stole my phone. So he, he finally got tired of reading it. But on the last one, it was like, and then Blackbeard at age 59 married his 4th wife, age 16. Yep. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, we're at a putt for families, and you want to throw this info out? This is the tidbit of And there are women pirates, the real life women pirates from back in the day. They have some very rough stories, very interesting reads. I spent a lot of my life in North Carolina, and so we are some Blackbeard folk with the buried treasure and the adventures and all that stuff. That there's a lot of lore here, so we kind of like grew up learning about these things. So yeah, I say go for it, dive in. I don't feel like you'll be disappointed with this one. Let us really quick, because we do I got like 4 more minutes, five more minutes. We are going to talk about what we have coming up next. So May, we're going to take the month of May off. That's kind of like our break time, guys. But when we come back, June, season 1 of The Witcher. So I have not read this yet. I think it was written in German and then translated to English. Am I correct? So it'll be interesting. This is going to be an interesting one. I did see season 1 of Witcher already. So I will probably rewatch it, because
not having read the books, a lot of it I was like, what's happening now? What is this about?
It's been
And
like
then it's
over
also
4 years
yeah.
since I read the book, so I'm questioning whether to read them again.
Yeah. Maybe Cliff Notes it. Get caught up. So I'm gonna try and read it, and I might watch some gameplay. Sometimes you can find people playing the games
Oh yeah,
online.
good point.
I'm gonna YouTube and see if I can find some gameplay and see what I think about it. Because I don't know if it was the book then a game or a game then a book. I don't know.
I
I'm
think
gonna
It was a
find out.
book,
game.
then a game,
Oh,
and
Then a
then a
game?
show. If I remember correctly, like the now I gotta look it up. I'll let y'all
We'll
know.
look it up and we'll
Continue
let
amongst
you know.
yourself.
Come back in June and find out what we find out. Or if you know, you can come chat with us about it. So we're going to be talking about The Witcher in June. We don't know the date yet, but if you follow my channel or follow Ben or Natalie on their channels, we will let you know when we know what the date for June is going to. We don't have a date for June, do we? Do we pick
tentatively
one?
the 22nd.
Tentatively the 22nd. So it's a good chance it'll be June 22nd. So come
By the way, it
join
was
us.
Polish.
Oh, Polish. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Very cool. We're gonna have all the facts because by June we will know all the things. Natalie's gonna have a ton of trivia for us probably. But we do have to go. I only have a couple more minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'm gonna let Ben. You want to let people know where you'll be at, and then Natalie, go ahead.
Yeah, we can hang out. I'm Ben Pick. Every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time, you can write with me on my productivity sprints as Writing to Write on YouTube.
Natalie Locke, you can find me on Flash Fiction Live. It will be on my channel May 18th at 10 a.m. Eastern. So that's a Sunday if you want to come and write a flash with us.
Nice. And you can find me on Tuesday nights here on YouTube. We're all linked below. I'm Nia, the Vixen of Fiction. I also write under NV James. So if you're interested in anything that I have written, it is cozy fantasy with a little bit of romance. Well, no, it's mostly romance, cozy romance. It's fun. So yeah, you can follow me, follow all of us. We're all linked below. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you for spending your Easter early part of the day with us. And we're going to go all have a great time enjoying the rest of the day with our friends and family. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.